Hi there, good Sunday. I'm Neil Gordon. You know, injuries can occur at any time, but during the summer, there's a lot more vacationers out on the road, more boaters, more outdoor activities. Of course, this adds to the potential for danger. So tonight, we're going to talk about some injury situations that are unique to the summer months, as well as the types of accidents that occur throughout the year. So how do you know if you have a claim, and how do you know if you've waited too long to do anything about it? Should you accept a settlement from the insurance company? Well, if you have any questions about personal injury situations, we invite your calls. We'll take your questions live at the number out on the screen, which is 803-442-4551. Before we get to tonight's topic, we want to let you know what's coming up on the docket the next few weeks. In honor of Father's Day, we'll talk about father's rights, as well as a grandpa in the law. Then on June the 24th, nursing home negligence. And the 1st of July, we will chat about injuries. And joining us this week from the Vic Hawk Law Firm is Vic Hawk, a personal injury attorney. This is right in your wheelhouse tonight, I would say. Yeah, personal injuries. And, you know, around the summertime, it's amazing. You know, we live in a development with a community pool, and it's just wet out on the concrete. There's ladders. I mean, it's you know, easily injuries can happen.
Easily, and they happen every day, and they can be very tragic. And it's one of the reasons that we put on this program. We want you to understand that trial lawyers get extra training to protect your rights in a courtroom setting. If you don't get a trial lawyer, then you're cutting and eliminating protections that you would otherwise have if you had one. I'd like to tell all of you that you shouldn't settle for a lawyer that can't do what's necessary to protect all of your rights. You shouldn't settle for less than what's fair. And you shouldn't settle for half a lawyer. And that's why you should have a trial lawyer. And tonight, we brought on a trial lawyer, a very good young trial lawyer from Bamberg, South Carolina, Chris Wilson. He's been practicing for 17 years in Bamberg, and he's got a firm with 2 or 3 other lawyers who are also trial lawyers that are helping people every day. Chris is a member of the South Carolina Trial Lawyers Association. It is called the South Carolina Association for Justice, and he's here tonight to help us. Now, Chris, can you explain to our viewers what they can do to protect themselves if, say, for example, if there's a boating wreck and somebody, or accident, and somebody's severely injured, but the DNR cites the wrong boater for being at fault? Say boats collide or someone's hit in the water. What can they do?
Sure, Vic. Well, the first thing that a lot of people wait too long to take action. And the first thing that people need to do is to get a lawyer involved. Maybe you've got a family member that's injured. Maybe you've got a lot of things that are going on that are being dealt with. But the first thing is to get a lawyer involved and get someone who can get in and be involved and investigate the case. Find the witnesses, interview witnesses, make determinations about the type of claims that may be present, make determination about the type of evidence that may be available. We tell people that come to our office that hire us to represent them to get us involved early and get us involved as soon as possible. And let us reach out to the witnesses, let us interview the witnesses, let us secure the evidence that's there. The evidence is going to disappear, the witnesses' memories are going to fade, and it's important. A lot of times you'll have a situation where an officer or a police officer, a patrolman, a boating officer, a DNR officer will make a determination, they'll make a liability determination that someone's at fault, but when the evidence is investigated further, that doesn't bear out, and they'll forego a claim that they may need to take.
Yeah. You know, Chris, that's something we see all the time, and what the public generally thinks is if an officer cites you, you're automatically at fault, and therefore you can't do anything about it. But there's a lot that you can do that Chris just mentioned, and it's a common misconception that our viewers have. In Chris's firm, as well as in our firm, we have investigators who can go out and gather the evidence. Many times an officer's under the gun and can't talk to everyone, or witnesses leave, or the officer overlooks evidence that would otherwise show the other person is responsible, or who is really responsible for what's occurred. So you can't ignore that, and you need a good trial lawyer to help you with it.
And once again, we want to invite your telephone calls. I want to give you the phone number again up on the screen, 803-442-4551, and we're talking about summertime injuries. And gentlemen, in the open, we were talking a little bit about the fact this is, swimming season, and we understand, the way ladders are made these days and the way maybe homeowners are taking care of the pools can really impact a case. Have either of you dealt with that through the years?
Chris, have you dealt with ladder
We
cases?
deal with those types of cases
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Either the area around the pool's not being well maintained, or the ladder's not being maintained, the pool's not being maintained, oftentimes.
Yeah, and you see that most often in situations where you have homeowners associations are failing to take care of their pools properly, or what I've seen a lot of is these hotels where they're no longer a chain hotel, but they are owned by individuals or a corporate group that has 3 or 4 different hotels in different cities, and then they start cutting back, but they don't maintain their pools. And as a result, people are severely injured for a number of different reasons: defective pumps, defective ladders, defective gates. It's almost unlimited in what's going on that's causing people to be injured.
Well, we're going to take our first break, and then we're going to chat a little bit about traffic accidents, playground injuries, as your kids will be out during the course of this summer. We would really like your participation. Again, the telephone number, 803-442-4551. If there's a question you've always wanted to ask, we're not going to charge you tonight, so please give us a call. The phone number, 803-442-4551. You're watching News 12 Law Call.
Winning broadcaster Neil Gordon, and from the Vic Hawk law firm, Augusta attorney Vic Hawk, known as a tough courtroom fighter, helping injured people for more than 30 years, plus guest attorneys from across the CSRA. Your rights, your calls, live. News 12 Law Call.
More on the topic of summertime injuries, and we invite your calls on that topic as well. First, though, our legal brief. Do you have homeowners insurance? You probably do if you own your own home, but do you know what it covers? Tonight, personal injury attorney Melissa Detchmendy has details in this week's legal brief.
If you think you just need something to protect your house from fire or storm damage, think again. That type of insurance isn't homeowners insurance. It's called hazard insurance or casualty insurance. Homeowners insurance is a bit broader. It will protect you against people who are hurt on your property. Let's say someone falls on your front porch steps. You knew they were bad and you should have fixed them. You're covered. If you or one of the kids hits a ball and hurts a bystander, or if your dog bites a guest, your homeowners will cover your liability up to the limits of your insurance. Plus, homeowners policy will probably cover some of the medical bills. Even a relatively minor injury like a broken foot or stitches at the emergency room can run into hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. It's not really hard to get up to speed on your homeowners policy. Just take the policy to your insurance agent, ask for an explanation. The agent will be glad to help you. That's your legal brief for tonight. I'm personal injury attorney Melissa Detchmendy of the Vic Hawk Law Firm. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Melissa. We are rejoined by attorney Chris Wilson from Bamberg, South Carolina, alongside Vic Hawk, of course, from Augusta, Georgia. And we have our first question of the night. It comes from Jenny in North Augusta. Jenny, how are you? Jenny, can you hear us? We want to maybe paraphrase Jenny's question. It'd be for you, Chris, since it's on the South Carolina side of the river. Jenny would like to know what happens if you slip and fall in the store. Maybe step by step, what's the first thing you should do, and following through as well.
Sure. Well, Jenny, it depends on kind of what you fall on, whether it's a substance that you slip and fall on, or whether it's a defect that you trip and fall on. In South Carolina, the law requires that the property owner or the store owner have some type of notice of what the problem is. Either they have notice and don't repair the defect or the problem, or the defect or the problem has existed long enough that they should have known about the problem and done something to repair it. And that is shown or proven. It's difficult at times to prove, but it's proven through witnesses or the evidence that may be present from gathering the store's policies, store information. And so it's important during that time that you contact an attorney, that you contact an attorney who knows how to handle those kind of cases, that you gather the information about the witnesses, the people that might have been present, the store manager that may have come up and completed a report, just gathering as much information as possible on the front end. That's very helpful in pursuing those claims.
Well, Melissa mentioned in our legal brief about homeowners insurance. I would assume that these stores would have some pretty
Absolutely.
heavy-duty insurance.
Yeah. What they generally have is a medical coverage to cover you if it's a minor injury, and then they have the liability coverage to cover you in the event that it turns out to be a much more serious injury. The reason they have the medical payments provision is that if you have just a minor injury and it's $500 to $1,000 for the bill, then there's no dispute about liability. But in the slip and fall cases, it's very, very important that you get to someone right away, because we have caught on many occasions, either through their own video or through the manipulation of the reports, companies trying to avoid responsibility.
Well, we've been talking a little bit about slip and falls and other kinds of injuries, and that's related to a couple from Evans. Roman joins us. Roman, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Hi, Roman. We understand you and your wife were involved in an incident related to a pool, and the cover was not on right. What happened with your wife?
Well, it was actually the skimmer cover, and it had a couple screws that are, supposed to be in there to maintain its integrity. And he was walking along the side of the pool carrying our 1-year-old, and stepped right on top of the skimmer cover. Of course, it gave way, and she went down, dumped the baby out on the concrete. And, we ended up in the emergency room down there in Hilton Head with a few medical bills, and ended up having to, cut our vacation short. While I was there, I took a video of the skimmer cover and how it didn't secure correctly, and got some names and phone numbers of a couple witnesses that actually one of them had a scar on her leg from the same skimmer cover 2 years prior.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Roman wants to know what he should do, I suppose.
Well, Roman, I'm going to flip you to Chris in just a moment, but as a general rule in cases like this, it's a straight negligence kind of situation. You have a failure to maintain the equipment around the pool, and that hazard was unknown to your wife at the time and caused the injury. Now, because it's a South Carolina case, it occurred in Hilton Head. Chris, is there anything significantly different under South Carolina law? It sounded like Roman did a great job of doing what he needed to do to protect his family.
Yeah, Vic, Roman's done a very good job of getting the information that's necessary on the front end for his lawyer to be able to help him well going forward in the claim. And one of the most significant things that Roman mentioned was the fact that this is an incident, or this is a situation that's happened to someone else. Yeah. And that puts the property owner or the person that's in charge of the property on notice that they have a problem. Yeah. And that's an important
And it's hurting people.
Yeah.
And they're not doing anything about it.
They're not doing anything.
Sure.
Christina?
Well, Christina, is joining us on the Georgia side of the river. Hello, Christina. How are you this Sunday night?
I'm fine. And you?
Oh, just fine. Thank you for asking. We understand you were involved in 2 accidents just a few days apart. How did things go with you on the insurance side with the second accident?
Well, we did not notify the insurance company of the second accident because it was just a little minor thing that you back into a car when you're backing out of the parking lot. But the first accident, the first insurance company says that they're not liable now because of the second accident.
Christina, that's a very, very common thing you see in first and second accident situations, especially when there's a short period of time in between. You're really going to have to document with the medical record, show them that there's been no significant change in your condition between the first and the second accident. And as a result, because there's no significant change in condition, the first accident's liability carrier should cover. Chris, is the same for you?
Pretty much the same. Yeah. Pretty much the same.
The music indicates we're going to pay a few bills. We're going to be right back with more of your questions. News 12 Law Call continues after this break. 500. And we welcome you back to the program. We have been talking about summertime injuries and some car accidents as well involving insurance, and that's where we're heading at the beginning of the break. Terry joins us from Aiken. How are you, Terry?
Okay.
Super. Share with us a little bit about what happened when you had a car accident, the other driver was at fault, and then how did things go with the insurance company?
Within a week, I received a letter from the gentleman's insurance company reference my medical, wanting to know what my medical providers were and what hospital, if I had seen any other medical providers. And since I had, so they mailed a authorization form for me to complete and fill out. But there was no time limitation on it. What I would like to know, is there a time limitation on getting that form back to his insurance company? Because each block you initial by what is to be released to his insurance company, all the way down to my educational background. It's a lot of personal information that you release. And it talks about, so they can
Terry?
transverse with my medical providers as to what care is being given to me. And the doctors haven't really had time to discuss my test results with me.
Terry, hold on. Chris, you know the answer to that. Yeah. I know the answer to that, so Chris, you tell her.
Terry, don't fill that paperwork out and send it back into that insurance company. They want to go in and secure and request all of the medical information for you about not only this accident, but maybe use those forms to request other medical information about you that's probably not relevant to the wreck that you've been involved in. They're going to do a full background check on you on that information and just request things that aren't necessary or aren't relevant to resolve the claim from the wreck that you've been involved in. You need to go consult with an attorney that you trust to look at that and give you direct advice about how to handle that situation.
Yeah. That's a very common thing they do when an accident occurs. And I guarantee you the person who receives those forms is not on your side. That person is there to protect the interests of the insurance company. And any error that you make will be used against you. Anything that they could use to indirectly affect the fairness of the result, they're going to use against you. And there are many, many, many things that you can do to protect your rights. And one of the main ones not to do is to send in that form.
And gentlemen, before the break, we were discussing about first and second accidents and filing with insurance companies or what have you, and I know that you wanted to add a little bit more to that.
Absolutely. I'll let Chris go first. And what we're talking about is a scenario where there's an accident on day one, and then you go a month or 2 months down the road and there's another accident. How do you resolve that? Because the liability carrier on accident 1 says it's the fault of accident 2, and accident 2 says it's the fault of accident 1. So, Chris, how do y'all handle it?
Well, the way we do, Vic, is we do a very good job of securing the information about both wrecks and comparing the type of injuries and the type of medical complaints, the type of problems that the person's having from the first wreck to the second wreck. And you pointed out a moment ago, insurance company from the first wreck likes to point the finger at the second wreck. Insurance company from the second wreck likes to point the finger at the first wreck, and the person gets caught between the insurance companies oftentimes. We've been very successful in determining and being able to prove how that second wreck would affect that person and worsen their situation, worsen their injuries, worsen their condition. And the insurance companies don't like to see those type of claims made. They will generally try to put that second wreck off and see if the person will just kind of go away.
We recently had a case that we finally got resolved. The guy tried to handle the claim himself. He came to us 2 days before the statute of limitations ran. We pursued the claim on his behalf. First insurance company was claiming that it was the second insurance company's fault. Second insurance company was claiming it was the first insurance company's fault or responsibility to pay for it. And we fought it all the way down to trial. They didn't offer the man anything till mediation, which is why I tell you to get a trial lawyer, because you never get there if you didn't have one. Then they increased their offer just at the beginning of the trial. They increased their offer at the time of trial, and then we were able to get a fair and just verdict from the jury, and he was a very happy fella as a result of it. So it can be handled, but you need trial lawyers who know what they're doing to be able to help you.
Well, in the last minute or so, we want to take a call, a little bit off topic, but extremely important, of course. Cheryl from Georgia joins us. And Cheryl, first of all, our condolences. We understand your daughter passed away about a year ago.
Yes, sir.
What happened, and what type of a claim maybe do you think that you may have?
Well, she went to the emergency room and was complaining that she couldn't breathe. And they told her she was having a panic attack. And they sent her home. Well, the next day, she still couldn't breathe. So she went to urgent care where they did take an x-ray and sent her home. And then on Monday, they called and said, take her to the ER now. She has pneumonia. Well, that Monday, they put her on life support. She was septic, and that was it. 3 weeks later, she was brain dead. And
Cheryl,
they took her off life support.
I'm very sorry for your loss. And that's a tragic thing to go through, but the only way you're going to be able to determine who was responsible for the loss of your daughter is to get the records together, have them evaluated by an expert. You should use a trial lawyer to do that, someone who specializes in medical cases. And I think, Chris, y'all do medical cases on a pretty regular basis.
We do. My firm handles a lot of medical malpractice cases, similar type situations.
But you really need to get to a good trial lawyer right away to get that evaluated to determine if there was anything else that could have been done for your daughter. She deserves it.
You know, absolutely, Vic, and thanks again for calling in, and thanks to all of our viewers as well. Next Sunday night, Wills and Estates, Power of Attorneys, Grandpa and the Law. Chris Wilson, thanks for stopping by, lending your expertise, and Vic, as always.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Thank y'all for calling.